Hey everybody, welcome back to our devotional thought this week. I'd like for us to spend a few minutes in the book of 2 Corinthians just along this thought of don't give up. Now I know when you clicked that arrow for a play button that you're just hoping that I'm going to say something today that is going to totally discourage you in your walk with Christ. I know that you want me to steal all of the hope and all of the encouragement that you might have in your life. You want me to take that away from you today. And the answer is no. That would be silly and foolish for you to jump on here hoping that I'm going to make you feel worse maybe than what you already feel. You would prefer me to give you something that's going to encourage you and something that's going to give you hope in the midst of all this craziness and chaos in which we find ourselves living today. So let me try to do that from the book of 2 Corinthians. And I want us to look at a couple of things here in this passage. And so Paul has just went through a list of things that have happened to him that have not been good things that have been very difficult and trying for him. But he gets to the 16th verse of this chapter and he says, even in spite of all of those things, he said, we do not lose heart. Paul says, in spite of all the bad things that have happened, he says, I am not going to give up. I am not going to give in to the circumstances. I am not going to give out. I don't know how you feel today. You may be in a position where right now you're kind of thinking, it's time for me just to throw in the towel. Things are too crazy. It's too tough. I'm just gonna lay these burdens down and I'm gonna quit. And let me just encourage you to take some encouragement and comfort in what Paul had to say here. And again, none of us have had to face the things that Paul faced. We're not dealing with stonings or beatings or shipwrecks or people trying to kill him, and ultimately they did take his life. But even in the midst of all of those kinds of amazingly difficult circumstances, Paul got to the point in his life where he was able to make this amazing statement, and that is, I'm just not going to give up. Far too often, we kind of have the idea, rather, that David had in Psalm 55 when he said, oh, that I had the wings of a dove, that I could just fly away and find rest. That's the way we feel a lot of times. If we could just get away from all of this, if we could just fly away, sprout some wings and fly away, we'd be in a much better situation and we wouldn't be having to face all the trials and all the stuff that we're dealing with. But I'm much more interested in us being able to get to a place that in the midst of all of these things, we can get to the place where Paul was. And he says, regardless, I'm not giving up. And Paul said that he realizes some things. He says he's not giving up, even though he knows, and he says here, that his outer man is perishing every single day. Paul knew that every day that went by, he was getting older, that his human body was falling away, that it was beginning to perish. And we can all relate to that. We can all relate to the fact that we can't do the things that we once did. I would love to be able to do some of the things that I used to be able to do in my 20s and 30s, but I can't. It's just the way that it is. It's just part of our human nature. Last time I checked, the mortality for the human race was still 100%. And so Paul said, even in spite of everything that's going on, even in spite of the fact that I know that the outer man is perishing, he said, my inner man is being renewed day by day. So even in spite of the bad things that are happening in our nature, even in spite of the bad things that people do all around us, the fallenness of mankind is tragic and it's terrible. It causes people to commit acts of violence that are hard for us to understand. It causes hopeless people to go into shopping malls and schools and theaters and kill people needlessly. Fallen nature causes people who we once loved and trusted to turn their backs on us and to walk away, leaving us alone. So we know that fallen people let us down, fallen people hurt our feelings, fallen people fail the Lord, but yet at the same time, even in spite of the fact that our outer body is perishing, even in spite of the fact that mankind around us, because of their fall, do things that we don't like and we don't understand, we still can get to a point where we say, I'm not going to give up. We don't have to be defeated. We don't have to be in despair. We don't have to be one of those people who used to walk with God and walked away. We don't have to be one of those people who used to go to church. We don't have to be one of those people who used to be faithful. We can still be faithful. We can still trust Him, even in spite of the difficult circumstances. So Paul made an incredible statement, and that is, I'm never going to give up. He made that statement in spite of a struggle that all of us have to deal with all of the time, and that is that our body is perishing and mankind around us, they do crazy things that we don't understand. But here is what allowed Paul to be able to get to that place where he was still able to say that I'm not going to give up. He understood that he was given fresh strength by God every single day. He said, even though my outer body is perishing, he said the inner man is being strengthened day by day. He knew as his body grew weaker that his soul and his spirit were getting stronger because of what God could do in his life. We recall what the writer of Lamentations said in chapter 3 there. He said, this is what comes to my mind, and because of what I think about, this is why I have hope. It is because of God's mercies that I'm not consumed. It is because of God's compassions that I don't fail. He said those mercies are new every day, and God is faithful to renew us and to renew our inner man every single day. And that allowed Paul to be confident in who God was and what he was going to do. So not only did Paul know that his inner man was being renewed, but secondly, he knew that nothing in life that he faced was going to last forever. Look at what he says in verse 17. He said, this is a light affliction, which is but for a moment. Now I know if you're going through some stuff today, right now you don't think it's very light, and you don't think it's for a moment. It seems like it's going to go on forever, and it may seem like it's more than you can bear. But in light of eternity, then it is only a moment in time. They can be our burdens, our issues, our situations can become weighty, but they're only for a moment. Paul would later say in Romans, for I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the glory which shall be revealed in us. So Paul learned that he was given fresh strength every day. Paul learned that nothing that we face in life lasts forever. And finally, Paul learned that everything in life has meaning. This is an amazing statement. When things in our lives, often when we look at them, we think they're meaningless. We wonder how anything so painful how anything good can come out of something so painful. But we must understand and realize that if we're a child of God in the economy of God, that there's nothing that happens in our life that is meaningless. Everything that takes place is a part of God's plan to develop us. Remember, He didn't save us to make us happy. God didn't save us to make us wealthy and healthy. God saved us to make us holy. God saved us to be conformed to the image of His Son. That is His eternal purpose in us. And Paul would say that I know that all things work together for good for those who love God, those who are called according to His purpose. So there is nothing in our lives that is meaningless. When health issues come, they're not meaningless. When we have someone that breaks our heart over a situation, it's not meaningless. When we're going through relationship problems in our families, problems with a job situation, these things are not meaningless. They're all working for our good in order to conform us to the image of Christ. And when we get there, that we can look back on those things and we can say, in spite of it all, I didn't give up. I did not lose heart. We do that by reminding ourselves of these truths, and that is that God is renewing us day by day, that these things are not going to last forever, and that ultimately they're going to be for our good and for God's glory. You may be dealing with some of these issues today, and if you are, we would love to help you. if you would just reach out to us here at Cedar Crest, you can give us a call. You can go to our website, www.ccbchurch.org. We'd love to help you if you're struggling with any of these things that are going on in your life, because our desire is that you win. Our desire is that you stay strong, that you don't give up in the midst of everything that's going on. So if we can help you, please reach out to us. We'd love to be able to do that. Thanks. Hope you have a great week. We'll see you again next time.